Joining me over the phone right now is Kendrick Perkins, former Celtic and, of course, NBA champion. What's up, Perk? Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's funny, I told someone this morning, Perk's coming on my show, and the first thing they said was, Perk's been everywhere. He's been on every show. And I had to laugh at that, and it's true, but so do I call you an analyst now? Is that what I'm saying? I say Celtic, NBA champion. Do I now call you an analyst?
Well, I wouldn't say that right now. I'm just, right now I'm just, just enjoying the retirement and voicing my opinion about basketball and really just, just touching all the surfaces. I mean, touching all the, doing everything, going around, doing a little bit of everything. So I wouldn't say that just yet, but it's part of the plan, though.
It is. So you would like to be a full-time media member?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind at all. I think it's a great job. I think, get to still talk about something that I know that I've been doing all my life. So I think it's an opportunity. I think that might be there for me in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a strong opinion, and I mean that's what it takes, right, to make it in this industry, in the sports media. But what if I told 10 years ago? What if I told the 24-year-old Kendrick Perkins that when he retired, he would be making his media rounds, going on shows, and giving his analysis of the NBA playoffs and of the current Celtics teams? What would the 24-year-old Perk tell me if I told him that?
Man, I wouldn't even believe you, D. I wouldn't even believe you. I'd say, man, nah, that ain't me. I'd probably be coaching or something, but I don't know about the analyst, man. I'd probably just start laughing. I wouldn't even believe you.
That Celtics team, the championship team, that group, I listened to a story you told with Woj on his podcast last month where you talk about the trade to OKC. And, I always think of that team and that group. And my question is always, do you guys, how often does that group, how often do you think back at that team and not just, look back at your greatness because you guys were a great team, but how often do you look back and think, what could have been? I mean, with the injuries and obviously the trade, do you ever think back of what could have been, and how often do you think back to that?
Man, you know what? I think about that all the time. I think about that team, man, all the time, man. That was, out of my whole career, that was the funnest team, best team I ever been on, man. And, I just think about, if we was healthy, how many championships we really could have brought to the city of Boston. I thought we could have did 3 in a row, to be honest, man. But, you think about, the crazy thing is, you think about the Game 7. I think about the Game 7 more than I think about when we won it in 2008. I think about the Game 7 we lost in 2010 than more than the championship, man. And it's crazy because, every time you watch basketball, like anytime I'm watching a game on TV, I'd be like, man, shoot, our team with Boston, man, we would have beat these guys or something like that. Or I wonder would they, like just thinking like that. And then I always go back to that 2018.
What sticks out when you think about that Game 7? Is there one thing in particular that jumps out at you?
Well, it's just one name that jumps out at me, Ron Artest, man. I remember him just playing out like he just went crazy during that game in the fourth quarter, man. And I think he really was like the unsung hero of that game that that's the reason that they beat us. But I think about how we had a 14-point lead going into the fourth quarter. I think about all that.
All right. Well, I'm always curious because, we're spoiled in this town, and I think we were even spoiled with that team. As great as we knew you guys were, and as much as we loved that team, I think we were all left feeling like, we wanted more, and it sounds like you feel the same way with that group.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if you go down the line and ask any one of the guys who played on the team or either one of the coaches, they would probably tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you told that story about the trade on Woj's podcast. You also said on that podcast that you want to be a head coach. in the NBA. Is that still your plan? I know we just sort of talked about the media aspect and you being an analyst.
That is one of my ultimate goals, and the reason being is just because, I love the game. I love being around basketball. I love dropping knowledge. I've been around a lot of great basketball minds, and in my opinion, I think the big men that played in the NBA don't get enough credit about knowing the game of basketball. And I think that if you go down the line and look, all the head coaches in the league that played the game were back in the day were point guards. And they're not the only people that know the game. Me and Rondo argue about basketball all the time just because he feels some type of way and I feel some type of way. So we go back and forth on the phone all the time.
So head coach is that your ultimate goal? Head coach? Yeah?
That is my ultimate goal.
So how do you got to become an assistant first, right? Is that usually the step?
It is, but not really. You just got to, the opportunity just have to present itself. You never know. You could be like a Derek Fisher and walk right into a head coaching job, or you might have to take the assistant role. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I don't mind putting in the groundwork and taking baby steps to get where I got to go, but I just want to be a guy that's able to progress and stuff like that.
I asked that question about the assistant coach because the Celtics are going to have an assistant coaching position opening up. If they came to you, is that something that you would be interested in? I'm not saying they will or they won't, but if it does actually open up, which it's looking like it will, and they came to you, is that something you'd be interested in?
Absolutely. You can't turn down. There's certain things you can't turn down, and that's one of them. And then being back in Boston, the city that basically raised me for my NBA career and, gave me, was the first people to take a chance on me and stuck by my side. You have no choice but to accept a job like that, man. And those jobs are not easy to come by the way. They have a lot of guys in this basketball world that's been trying to get on the assistant coaching, that's been trying to get on the coaching staff in the NBA for a long time and haven't had the opportunity. So I know if the situation was, the opportunity was present itself, I probably would really have to consider taking that job.
It sounds like you would almost want to go after that position instead of sitting back and waiting for it to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to put in the groundwork. Like I said, right now I'm down at the combine, and I'm coaching a combine right now this week. So, I'm just doing a little bit of everything, just getting my foot in the door and getting my feet wet a little bit. So, absolutely, you got to go after those type of jobs.
All right, well, speaking of the Celtics, they're a hot topic in this town, as you know, and you've been very outspoken about this Celtics team that lost in the second round to the Milwaukee Bucks, and now we're all trying to figure out what happens next. Where does this team go? NBA free agency begins on July 1st. The big name is Kyrie Irving. Now Terry Rozier is talking to the media. But first, when you look back at the Celtics season, Perk, who should get the most blame for how it ended?
Well, I know, at the end of the day, you just got to look at, you got to look at the writing on the wall. I think if you watching the game and if you watching the Celtics play, you can see it, man. From a team that was last year, how they gelled together and was loving to play with one another, and then you watch it this year. You could give a lot of blame to a lot of guys on the team. But you always got to start off with your leader. You always got to start off with your leader, man. And the leader of the team was Kyrie. I think Kyrie didn't carry himself well as a leader on the team. I didn't think he led by example. And like I said before, he didn't represent what Celtic pride was all about. And then you go down the line. You expected more out of Gordon Hayward, even Big Al Horford. you expected more out of him also. I mean, he didn't really have, you know, his best games during the playoff season. So, I mean, you know, Jason Tatum had a little drop off, so it could be consistently. I mean, you know, it's hard to place blame on Brad just because, for the simple fact, I can only imagine what he was going through at that time. You know, trying to control all the egos and stuff like that, man. It's, you know, and the locker room and manage minutes, and you know that guys are not buying into your system. That's pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think Kyrie is to blame. He was the superstar in this team. He did not show up in the 4 losses to Milwaukee. He was 5 for 27 from the 3-point line. I mean, that 19%, that's horrible. Kyrie was bad in that game 5 on the road. It was a must-win. He had 15 points. But you know what frustrated me the most out of Kyrie really all year long was just the things he said, you know, the things he said to the media. And in that game 5 postgame, Perk, he's sitting up there saying, you know, this is no time to be disappointed. And I couldn't believe he said that, because if there's ever a time to be disappointed, I'm thinking this would be it. If you were a teammate of his and you heard him say this is no time to be disappointed, I mean, how would you react to that?
Right. I mean, I watched it, man, and like I said, it was very disturbing to watch. Like, just to sit up there and listen to him say that just showed that, to me, he really didn't care. So, I mean, you had to, you know, he showed it to us. So we had to, you know, I had to believe it. Like, yeah, this guy really don't care about being in Boston. Obviously, he don't know what it means. He don't know what it means to play for the Celtics, in my opinion. So, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I just feel like, you know, I listened to the Game 5 exit, and that's what, part of me, that's what made me come out and say he was a poor leader and he didn't care. And he didn't lead by example. I mean, you don't get knocked out the playoffs and just feel that type of way. He was talking about how he couldn't wait to finish watching the Bucks play and stuff like that. And I'm looking at it like, man, are you serious? This is really coming out your mouth right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was fresh, too. It was like 20 minutes after the game ended. I couldn't believe it. And you're right, that line about Milwaukee, I can't wait to watch Milwaukee in the next round. I'm sitting here going, what do you mean? I wanted to watch you guys, the Celtics, in the next round. What are you talking about with Milwaukee?
Right. I had to pay for Nick Wright dinner because you didn't want to come out there and lead by example or play and leave it all out on the court. I'm like, man, like, he just didn't represent it, man. And for him to do all the talking about he's the leader and this is time of the year and he's ready and all this, you know, that's what furthermore showed me that he's not a Batman. I mean, you know, most guys that come out and say things, you know, that's really, really good and great players, they come out and they back it up.
Yeah, and he did not back it up. And I think that's the one thing with Kyrie that I said all year long. You know, it was tough to root for him because of the things he was saying. But I always came back to, well, you know what? I know what he can be in the playoffs. And if he's going to be that in the playoffs, this is a league in which he can dominate in the playoffs and help this team get a championship. So I wasn't running him out of town because I knew what he could be in the playoffs. But if you're not going to be that guy, that Batman, like you said, in the playoffs, then what are we doing here, right? I mean, you know, this is basically just a big headache that nobody in this town and in this organization needs. So I guess my next question for you, Perk, is, with all of this said about Kyrie, he is gone. He's leaving, right? He's not coming back to the Celtics?
I mean, the way he went about it, I would think so. You know, it's something about how he went about it. I mean, like, you know, the way he, like I said, if you listen to his Game 5 and you watch his body language and stuff like that, man, I mean, you would think that he's gone. To me, I think he has one foot out the door.
Yeah, I think so too. And the room is the Knicks. And even lately, we've been hearing about the Lakers. And I've been saying for a while now, don't sleep on the Lakers with Kyrie. And people laugh at me. They say, oh, Kyrie would never want to play with LeBron again. My theory with Kyrie and LeBron, Perk, I want your take on this. My theory with those two is that they didn't really dislike each other as much as everybody seems to believe. And I think he would go to I think Kyrie would go to the Lakers. Do you think those two?
No, you're right.
Do you think those two could play together? Yeah.
You're 100% right. LeBron and Kyrie never had a problem. Like it was never a beef between those guys. So, I mean, if Kyrie, I wouldn't be surprised either if he end up in I wouldn't be surprised if he end up in LA also.
Because when I look at Kyrie and the trade he demanded from Cleveland, he didn't put in fairness to Kyrie, he never really wanted to be a Celtic, right? Like the Celtics were never on his initial list of teams he wanted to go to. So we do have to give him that. Like he never really wanted to be a Celtic. And I think in his head, he just wanted out of Cleveland. And he always knew he had a destination that he would go to. I mean, is it crazy to think that LeBron and Kyrie were in cahoots back then? And they said, hey, we'll meet up in LA? Like, is that a crazy thought?
Nah, I mean, I don't think that happened. But I do think, that Kyrie realized that, because he wanted his own team, but I do think he realized he better when he's playing with a Batman or playing with a LeBron James. Like, he's better at a second option. Because we all witnessed and seen this postseason that he's not capable of handling pressure. So I know that for sure. Like he didn't show me he was ready to handle pressure, of being a leader. And like I said, man, I don't have a problem with that. Like everybody's not a leader. Like being a leader is hard. But at the end of the day, if you come out and you talk about it, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, then you gotta show it. And he didn't step up and prove nothing. It was a disappointing season, especially for Kyrie. Yeah.
If you're the Celtics, I mean, let's say Kyrie proves us wrong and is like, you know what, I want to stay in Boston. If you're the Celtics, I mean, at this point, should you even want Kyrie to come back? Because here's what I want to see. I want to see the Celtics, what they had 2 years ago. I'm curious to see what that group could be without Kyrie moving forward. Like, I really do want to see that. They went to Game 7 of the East Finals, and I want to see that group. But if let's say Kyrie does prove us wrong and he does want to come back, if you're the Celtics, what should you say to that?
I don't know. It's hard. It's a decision you got to make. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to see, like I said, the Celtics are a very prideful organization. You know what I mean? The owners take great pride. They have great ownership. Of course, Danny is Danny. The front office is great, and Brad is great. I mean, you have to look at, is this a guy that you want to build your team around? Is this a guy you want to be the leader and be the tone setter for your culture? Like, is this that guy? And at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know if that's the guy. In my opinion, I don't know if he's my leader or a guy I want to build around because of what he showed me. Now, granted, everybody had their bad games and, everybody go through their ups and downs in the postseason.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's what he done after the game and, his body language just showed me he didn't care. So it's hard to bring back a guy to the city of Boston where the fans, the history of playing with, you can't bring back a guy that takes for granted that he's actually playing for the Celtics organization, man. Like, that's a historic franchise. And, when you're playing with the Celtics, man, you got to have some respect behind it and play with some heart.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. And now I guess you talk about maybe respect, and if Kyrie does move on somewhere else, we're looking at Terry Rozier as the point guard of this team, though. Terry Rozier on ESPN the other day made it very clear, if this team looks exactly the same as it did this past season, he says, quote, I might have to get out, end quote. That's what he told Stephen A. Smith when presented the example of everybody's coming back. How do you respond to the way Terry Rozier is going about it? Not necessarily his message, but the way he's going about this.
Well, I think, to me, in my opinion, I think, and I love Terry Rozier. I think he's very talented. I think right now he's getting the wrong advice, and I don't know who he's getting his advice from, but at the end of the day, I think as a free agent and you coming up this summer due to probably get a big contract or a nice size contract, I think you shouldn't be really doing those shows or talking at all because you can hurt yourself, man. Everybody watches TV, from GMs to owners, and it's not like Terry is nice. He's for sure a starting point guard in this league, but it's not like he's a Steph Curry or a Russell Westbrook type guy. So it's not like he's a guy you would never find in the next 5 to 10 years. You know what I mean? Like they have a Terry Rozier that comes around every other year or every year or so in the draft or whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, I think he's getting bad advice. And, as coming into a free agent, man, you don't want to do anything that's going to hurt yourself from getting the most money that you possibly deserve or possibly could get. And you don't want to give nobody any reason to say, hey, you know what, this guy's a talented player, but I don't know. Because there's certain things that you just can't do. And I thought he went about that the wrong way. Like, as a former player, when you're in the locker room, there's things it's really a unwritten rule that, what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. You know what I mean? Like, unless, you have a discussion with your teammates or the coaches or whatever, then you come out with it. But, like, to come out and, like, add it out and just say different things, and at that time, I think it's just bad advice, and it wasn't a good look for him. So, hopefully he don't go back on shows right now and say nothing else and just, just stay put, man, and focus on getting his contract that he deserved, man. So I just think he's getting bad advice from somebody.
Yeah, I don't like the way he's going about it, but I will say this, if we're all going to sit here and sort of crush Kyrie, I mean, Rozier his message, forget about how he went about it, but just think of maybe the message he's trying to send. I mean, he's got a point, right? It kind of sounds like he is speaking not just for himself, but some other players, like the other younger players on this team. So, I mean, do we agree with his message that, like, he shouldn't come back to the Celtics if it looks the way it did this past year?
I mean, my thing is this. Okay, even if he is speaking the truth, it's still not, at the end of the day, he still should leave all his opportunities open. He shouldn't close any doors. At the end of the day, the Celtics have the right to match any contract that any team offer him if they want. And other teams know that. So they know that now if you're a GM, you're going into a bidding war. So you can say, well, I could offer Terry Rozier this, and I was going to offer him this, but I know the Celtics not going to match it. So this might be his only deal on the table. Now, granted, I want the guy to get paid. I want him to get what he deserves. I want him to go and have his own team or a starting point guard and, and flourish and be a lead and maybe make an all-star game. I want the best for him. My thing is that if I was him, I would just stay off the TV and stop doing the interviews until your contract negotiation is up and over with and you're signed on the dotted line. And after that, hey, say whatever the hell you want.
All right, how about Anthony Davis? He's a name that's going to be talked about this offseason. He's got one more year left on his deal in New Orleans. I don't know how much the number one overall pick is going to affect whether or not he wants to stay there. I actually don't think it's going to affect it at all. I think he's still going to want out. The rumors that he wants to go to LA, he's dead set on that, and that obviously could, take away some of the leverage that New Orleans has in a deal with, with other teams. But where do you think Anthony Davis is going to end up? I mean, do you think he's going to be traded this summer? And if you do, where do you think that's going to be?
I don't know. It's interesting now, man, because, you get Zion, and it's interesting. I want to see. I haven't spoken with AD in about a month, so I don't know where his mind at. I know he's been working his tail off, been in the gym, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, if I'm him, I gotta consider staying in New Orleans, wouldn't you? I mean, but I'm pretty sure, you know, he might want to get moved. I don't think AD cares where he go. I think he probably just want a fresh start. So whether it's in LA, whether it's Boston, the thing about it is that Griff is going to do the best for the Pelicans. So I know Griff, he's a great guy. So if he trade AD and AD request still wants to be out, he's going to make the best trade that's the best for the organization, for the New Orleans organization. So at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I think it's something that they're going to have to talk about.
Well, how do you think Anthony Davis has handled this? Because, I mean, you know, you can make the case that he sort of gave up on his team, you know, with the year and a half left on his deal. You know, I've heard some people.
No,
you don't think so?
No, I wouldn't say that. Just for the simple fact that he requested a trade before the deadline. You know, the GM at the time, Dale Demps, his pride was in the way. So he wasn't really even trying to entertain it. And he forced AD to stay. And after he forced him to stay, he told him, okay, cool, well, since you're here, matter of fact, we don't even want you to come to the arena or show up to the games. Just stay home. And Anthony said, no, I'm coming in and I'm going to play. I'm going to come in and I'm going to play basketball. And that's what he done. I mean, obviously his minutes were limited and he still put up great numbers, but, you know, I don't think a lot of this, you know, at the end of the day, we got to quit blaming the players for everything, because I think he didn't, and Anthony Davis didn't even put it out there publicly. Dale Demps did. So Anthony Davis and Rich Paul, they went about it quietly. They went to Dale Demps quietly. They didn't put it out to the media.
Yeah, but what about
But
what about just the idea that he asked for a trade? I mean, I heard some people try to compare this to Kevin Garnett asking for the trade, and I said you cannot compare the two, and here's why. Garnett played 14 seasons in Minnesota. He took that Timberwolves team to the playoffs like 7 or 8 straight years, went to the conference finals. Garnett did everything he could, blood, sweat, and tears, to get a championship for the team that you know he began his career with. Anthony Davis he's gone to the playoffs twice. It's like, has he put everything in to that Pelicans organization? Like just the fact that he's demanding a trade so soon, does that rub you the wrong way at all?
Well, I mean, not really, but you're right. You can't compare that to KG at all. But you never know what a guy is going through with the organization. I mean, we looking at the basketball side of it, but we don't know if he's happy with the organization. You know, I played with the Pelicans, so I was there, and you know, New Orleans is a great city. Like, I had fun there, but you know, obviously the Saints run the town. Like, no matter how good the Pelicans could be, it might be different now, but the New Orleans Saints is the focal point in New Orleans. It's not like in Boston, how Boston rep the Patriots, they rep the Red Sox, they rep the Celtics, they rep the Bruins, they rep all those teams in the same fashion. If you're a diehard fan, you're a diehard fan, period. Whether it's the football team, baseball team, everybody gets the same treatment in Boston. It's not like that in the Pelicans. So as a player, it's not like that in New Orleans. So as a player, you know, you talking about maybe his accomplishments and what he did for the team on the court, and saying, yeah, you can't compare that to KG situation. But at the end of the day, you don't know what a player was going through inside the internal part with the organization. You know what I'm saying? Was he happy? Like, you know, and I think, in my opinion, I think it might be time for AD to move on, you know, for a fresh start. I think he needs to. I think it would be best for him to be in a bigger market, in my opinion. So we'll see how things goes, but that's just my opinion on it.
All right, just 2 more for you. Kevin Durant, where is he going to end up? Is he leaving Golden State? And if he is it, you know, everyone's saying the Knicks? Is there somewhere else? I know I've heard you mention, you know, maybe the Celtics. Where do you think Durant ends up next year?
you know what? To be honest, I don't know if KD even knows. And I talk to KD a lot. I don't think KD even knows. I think he's going to do the same thing in free agency. I think he's going to take visits. I think he's going to take conversations, and I think he's going to decide then whether he stays in Golden State or he leaves. In my opinion, I think his time is up in Golden State. I think he leaves. I think he's tired of being, criticized for winning and joining the team that was 73-9. Although they needed KD, and I always tell everybody, just to change the subject a little bit, that KD didn't recruit himself. Golden State recruited Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, they must knew it was something that was missing there. But I think, that KD time might be up in Golden State. Who knows? But I think it's time for him to, to me, I as a friend and as a brother, I want to see him with his own team. Because at the end of the day, Golden State is always going to be Steph's team, no matter what. So, and it's rightfully so. He deserved it. But I would love to see KD with his own squad.
Do you think Golden State is going to take this year?
Well, I don't know. It depends on. They look damn good right now with KD and without KD. So it's hard to say. I just my whole focal point is that the East is not getting enough credit right now, man. We're watching two good teams right now in Toronto and Milwaukee that, they're not going to be a cakewalk in the finals, man, if whichever team make it out of the East. So, I mean, Golden State is who they are, and they're playing great basketball. But at the end of the day, we got to start giving a little bit more credit to the teams that's in the East right now. Milwaukee is playing great basketball, and so is Toronto.
I love watching Kawhi Leonard. And I just think Kawhi versus Giannis, that's a great matchup. But here's one thing that, and I want to know if this bothers you too, because it bothers me. Like, I talk to people, just generic fans of the NBA, and to me, people do not give Steph Curry enough credit for being as dominant as he's been the last handful of years. I mean, I've never seen a guy so dominant still be so underrated like Steph Curry. I've just never seen it. Do you feel that way too in the NBA circles, or is that just me talking to fools that don't make any sense?
No, I feel the opposite. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like he gets more than enough credit. I think, he obviously took a back seat when KD got there, but Steph's been getting credit for a long time, man. I'm talking about back-to-back MVPs, and he's been getting his due. Like, I think he gets a lot of praise in this world, in my opinion. So I have to disagree with you on that one. I think he do get his fair share of praise and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think that when Durant went there, all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh, it's Durant's team," and I guess that's what I'm trying to compare this to. Like, I look at it still and think it's Steph. I still think it's Steph's team, and I think he even shows that with Durant having the injury. You talk about the second half of that game 6 against Houston. Steph went scoreless in the first half, scores, 32, 33 in the second half. And then in this game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, I mean, for people who say, well, this is Durant's team, I say, I still think this is Steph's team. And I just think that Steph maybe doesn't get enough credit because Durant's there now.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's still Steph's team, but KD is the best player on that team. And it shows, and it's been showing every time Golden State goes to the finals. Every time they go to the finals, man, Steph, for some reason, he have horrible finals. He played horrible in the finals. He's not his Steph, shall I say. And, it is Steph's team. He is, Golden State basketball, but at the end of the day, it's KD still the best player that's on it too.
All right, so
I do agree with you on that point. He do get overlooked now because of what Kevin Durant is doing, and I mean, it's just what it is, and that's why I think it's gonna be time for them to move on.
So you don't have a prediction, a finals prediction, even though we have 4 teams left. You had to pick one of these 4 teams. You don't want to make that prediction right now. You don't want to go out on a limb and take a team, Perk.
Nah, I don't, man. I don't. I really don't, man. Because I don't want to disrespect the East. Because man, the way the Bucks and Toronto is playing, man, I just don't want to disrespect the game of basketball. But I think it's going to be more interesting than what people think. And I said this before the playoffs started, that this was going to be one of the most interesting playoffs that we've seen in the last few years. And to me, it has been. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've been locked in to like every game. Every game has been fully exciting to me. And you see different guys, Portland and guys from the Denver Nuggets that have stepped up and, big time. And you see guys that then dropped off, like, Ben Simmons, stuff like that. So it's been an interesting playoffs, and I think it's going to get even more interesting as we continue to go on.
All right, Perk. Great stuff. Thanks for joining me today. Listen, I hope you do end up on the Celtics coaching staff. I really do hope you get that spot. If you do, maybe we can get you in studio or get you on the show again. But thanks for joining me, and hope to talk to you again soon.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for the support.